vpod.ai, your source for information. This podcast is sponsored by Stonefly, your trusted solution provider and advisor in enterprise storage, backup, disaster recovery, hyperconverged and VMware, Hyper-V, Proxmox cluster, AI servers, and public and private cloud. Check out stonefly.com or email your project requirements to sales@stonefly.com. Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're tackling something pretty big, how you can actually partner up with AI to, well, boost your creative thinking.
Yeah, it's a hot topic.
It really is. And our goal really is to give you some clear, practical strategies.
Yeah.
We want you to see AI less like, just another app on your computer.
Right.
And more like a genuine collaborator, someone or something that can help unlock new ideas and honestly just help you get more done.
And it can feel a bit much, right? All this AI talk.
Totally. So if it feels overwhelming, stick with us. We're going to break it down into hopefully usable steps.
Good plan.
And we've got some really interesting insights to share based on folks who've been teaching exactly this, how to make that mental shift.
And it's interesting because some of this thinking comes from people who were deep into idea generation, even before all of recent generative AI stuff exploded.
Oh, right. So they've seen the before and after.
Exactly. They've watched how this tech really changes the game for creativity.
So what is the big shift then? What's the core idea?
Well, it's fundamentally about changing how we approach work. you
Yeah.
know, our creative process. When you start seeing AI as a collaborator, not just a tool.
Like an assistant.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
But maybe even more. It changes the whole dynamic. You move away from just giving commands and getting answers to something much more interactive, more give and take, potentially more insightful.
It reminds me a bit of that old image of Winston Churchill.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Apparently dictating speeches from his bathtub to an assistant.
Right.
He needed someone who really got him, understood his context, his voice, what he was aiming for.
And you're saying AI can do that now?
Well, that's the incredible thing, isn't it? That level of personalized, context-aware help. It's actually becoming technically possible for, well, pretty much everyone.
That's a powerful thought.
Yeah.
But, okay, how do we get there? How do we get AI to actually understand us that well?
Good question.
It actually leads to the first, maybe slightly counterintuitive idea.
Okay, I'm listening.
Instead of jumping right in and telling AI what you want it to do,
Yeah.
try letting it ask you the questions first.
Flip the script.
Yeah.
So don't just give it a prompt. What do I ask it instead?
Well, you could try something along these lines.
Yeah.
We'd say to the language model, hey, you're an AI expert.
Okay.
I'd really value your help, maybe like a consultation, to figure out where I could best leverage AI in my life or my work.
Right. Setting the stage.
Exactly. Then say, as an AI expert, could you please ask me questions, just one question at a time,
One at a time. Okay.
until you feel you've got enough context about my workflows, my responsibilities, maybe my KPIs,
Key performance indicators. Yeah.
and my main objectives. And then, once you have that context, could you give me maybe 2 obvious recommendations and 2 non-obvious ones for how I could use AI?
Wow. Okay. That is different. The AI acts like a consultant, figuring out my situation first.
Precisely. It's actively trying to understand your world before it suggests anything.
What usually happens when people try this? What comes out of that initial chat?
It can be surprisingly enlightening, illuminating even.
Yeah.
Because the AI is assessing its own potential usefulness based on what you tell it.
Oh, right.
The recommendations, especially those non-obvious ones, can be things you genuinely wouldn't have thought of yourself.
That sounds really useful for cutting through all the hype and finding where it might actually help me. Is there like a real-world example of this?
There is, yeah. Think about Adam Reimer at Glen Canyon National Park.
Okay, National Park Ranger.
Backcountry ranger, yeah. And he also managed facilities. And one job he absolutely dreaded was the paperwork for replacing carpet tiles.
Carpet tiles. Sounds riveting.
Exactly. But the bureaucracy involved meant replacing even a small section could take him 2 or 3 days. Just paperwork.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's painful. That sounds like something you'd want to automate.
You got it. So after getting some basic training on working with AI, not just using it, he thought, maybe AI can help here.
And it could.
Amazingly, yeah. In about 45 minutes, he basically used its natural language smarts to build a tool. He trained it to understand and fill out all those complicated forms.
45 minutes.
Yep, and it automated the whole process. Now, every time he needs to replace tiles, it saves him about 2 full days of work.
That's incredible. 45 minutes for a 2-day saving, repeatedly.
But wait, it gets better. This tool wasn't just for him. It got shared across the whole National Park Service.
Oh, wow.
And they estimate it'll save the service something like 7,000 days of human labor every single year across all 430 parks.
7,000 days. From a tool built in 45 minutes by a ranger dealing with carpet tiles.
Exactly. It just shows the massive impact possible when people, even without being tech wizards, learn how to actually collaborate with AI.
Okay, that story really drives it home.
Yeah.
So, point one, let AI ask you the questions to figure out how it can help. What's the next big idea?
The second really crucial shift is moving beyond just using AI and starting to consciously treat it like a teammate.
Treat it as a teammate, okay? Sounds simple, but I bet the way you interact changes quite a bit with that mindset.
Oh, absolutely. Think about this. AI has huge potential, right? Speed, volume, maybe even quality.
Yeah, that's the promise.
But the reality, research shows less than 10% of professionals are actually seeing big productivity jumps. There's this realization
A
gap.
gap between the hype and the actual results.
Exactly. People aren't seeing the gains because they haven't figured out how to work with the AI effectively. And get this, some studies even found AI can sometimes make people less creative.
Wait, less creative? That seems wrong. How could that happen?
Well, the research compared different users,
Yeah.
let's call them underperformers and outperformers.
Okay.
And the key difference wasn't how tech-savvy they were. It was their basic approach. The underperformers treated AI like a vending machine, Put in a command, get a result, either take it or leave it.
Right, like a tool.
But the outperformers, they really engaged with AI like it was a member of their team.
So what does that look like? Practically speaking, what do these outperformers do differently?
A really clear difference is how they react when the AI gives them something, well, mediocre.
Okay, yeah. What happens then?
If you see it as just a tool and the output's not great, you might just tweak it a bit or maybe just give up on using AI for that task.
Right. Yeah, probably. Or just try a different prompt.
But if you see AI as a teammate who missed the mark, your reaction is different. You'd give feedback. You'd coach it. You'd try to help it understand why it wasn't right and how it could do better next time.
That makes a lot of sense. You wouldn't just ditch a human teammate after one bad draft. You'd work with them.
Exactly. And a key part of that is getting the AI to ask you questions to clarify.
Ah, back to the AI asking questions.
Yeah. Instead of just feeding it more instructions, you might say, okay, that's a start, but not quite there. What questions do you have for me that would help you understand my goal better?
That's a powerful technique. Can you maybe walk us through an example of this teammate approach?
Sure. Let's say you're prepping for a really difficult conversation, maybe with a coworker or boss.
Okay. Yeah, we've all been there.
If you treat AI just as a tool, you might ask it, draft some talking points for confronting my colleague about X.
Right. Pretty basic.
But if you treat it as a teammate, you could go much deeper. You could say, okay, AI, I need to have this tough chat. Can you interview me about my colleague?
Interview you.
Yeah. Ask you about their likely motivations, how they've reacted in the past, what their potential sensitive spots might be. Based on your answers, the AI could help build, like, a psychological profile. And then you could even ask the AI to role-play the conversation with you. It takes on the persona of your colleague.
Seriously?
Yep. And after you practice the conversation, the AI could give you feedback from that simulated perspective. When you said X, I felt Y.
That is really next level preparation. Like having a practice partner who can give you objective feedback on how the other person might perceive things.
Exactly. These kinds of interactive sessions, these drills, can open up totally unforeseen ways to use AI. People studying this are constantly surprised by the clever applications folks come up with once they adopt that collaborative mindset.
It sounds like it taps into something deeper, maybe our own creative potential.
I think it does. There's this underlying belief, that everyone has creative capacity. And AI, approached as a teammate, can be a real catalyst for unlocking that.
You mentioned a story earlier, something about the hip-hop artist Lecrae. How does that fit in?
Right. So in a class, students were told to go out and find inspiration. Pretty vague assignment.
Yeah, a bit abstract.
And apparently the business school students especially were like, find inspiration. What does that even mean?
I can imagine.
But Lecrae, coming from the arts, just said something simple and profound. Inspiration is a discipline.
A discipline. Okay, meaning?
Meaning it's not just passive. You have to actively cultivate it. You have to be conscious about the inputs to your thinking. And that's crucial with AI too.
Oh, so?
Because even with these incredibly powerful AI models that everyone can access.
Right.
The quality of the output, the truly innovative stuff, still depends massively on what you, the human, bring to the table.
Right.
Your experience, your perspective, your inspiration, your disciplined inputs.
So AI is powerful, but it's not a magic wand. It needs our active engagement, our unique human element.
That's it, exactly. It really is a partnership, which brings us nicely to the third key idea.
All right, what's number 3?
It's about how we get beyond just good enough ideas when we work with AI.
Right. Because AI can generate stuff really fast, but is it always, groundbreaking?
Often not, initially. There's a great, simple definition of creativity I heard once, actually from a 7th grader.
Oh, yeah. What did the wise 7th graders say?
They said creativity is doing more than the first thing you think of.
Huh. Simple, but pretty spot on.
It really is. It speaks to this cognitive bias we all have. We tend to latch on to the first decent solution that comes to mind and stop there. Economists call it satisficing, settling for good enough.
Okay, I definitely do that sometimes. Get something workable and move on.
We all do. And AI makes getting to that good enough point incredibly fast and easy. It can churn out plausible ideas very quickly.
So it actually makes satisficing easier.
It can, yeah. But if you want truly exceptional results, world-class ideas, you need to push past that. You need to deliberately ask the AI for volume and, crucially, for variation.
Volume and variation. So don't just ask for one idea, ask for 10 or 20. And ask for different kinds of ideas.
Exactly. That core definition of creativity going beyond the first thought doesn't suddenly disappear because we have AI. What changes is how we collaborate to achieve that. Your goal, your intention in working with the AI is critical. If you're aiming for real creative breakthroughs, you have to specifically prompt the AI to explore a much wider range of possibilities. Different angles, different styles, maybe even some wild ideas.
And then it's still up to us, the humans, to sort through that, see the potential, refine things.
Absolutely. The human judgment, the curation, the ambition you bring that remains essential. AI can do a lot of the legwork in generating options, but guiding the process toward excellence, that's still our job.
It really comes back to that core shift, doesn't it?
It does. It circles right back to, I don't use AI, I work with it.
Like a teammate.
Like a teammate. Really internalizing that, making that shift in mindset.
Yeah.
Honestly, it changes everything in how you approach this technology.
Okay, this has been super insightful. Let's maybe just quickly recap those main strategies for the listener.
Good idea.
So first, don't just ask AI things. Get the AI to ask you questions first so it really understands your content.
Right. Let it be the consultant initially.
Second, treat AI like a teammate. Give it feedback, coach it, guide it, especially when the output isn't perfect. Don't just discard it.
Engage with it.
And third, to get beyond just good enough, push for more. Ask for volume, ask for variation, and bring your unique human perspective to shape the final outcome.
Exactly. Go beyond that first thought.
And by doing these things, hopefully you, listening right now, can start to really unlock some of that creative power, just like Adam Reimer did with his carpet tile problem.
Yeah, it's about making that shift in approach. It really can make a difference.
Definitely food for thought.
There.
So maybe, as a final thing for you to ponder, think about one area, maybe at work, maybe just in life, where you've kind of settled for good enough. How could you maybe apply this teammate approach with AI? Explore a bit more, push for some variations, and see if you can reach for something, well, a bit more exceptional.
That's a great challenge.
Feepod.ai, your source for information. This podcast is sponsored by Stonefly, your trusted solution provider and advisor in enterprise storage, backup, disaster recovery, hyperconverged in VMware, Hyper-V, Proxmox cluster, AI servers, and public and private cloud. Check out stonefly.com or email your project requirements to sales@stonefly.com.